Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Romeo and Juliet. In this video, we are going to be having a quick look at Act 2, Scene 6, which is the moment where Romeo and Juliet are united in marriage. So let's get started.
Okay, very speedy scenes, so very speedy summary. We open up with a conversation between the friar and Romeo as they wait for Juliet, who will shortly be arriving at the cell in order to be married. And the friar warns them aptly, again, about speed and haste, but also about passion. Juliet then arrives, but before they go off to get married, they have a little convo about love once more. And again, Shakespeare's just reminding us of their kind of different temperaments, because Romeo is waxing lyrical, being very flowery, using metaphor to describe his intense love for Juliet. And he actually encourages Juliet to sort of do the same, to use the same sort of language. And Juliet's like, nah, don't need to. Yeah, true love doesn't need it, which demonstrates again how, I don't know, perhaps her love is quite a true form. She doesn't fall back on the kind of tropes of romance that Romeo does with her and did with Rosaline. But the scene ends with the two of them going off to be married. It is a speedy scene, but there are a couple of really important moments that we're going to look at now. These are the first two lines of the scene. They are from the friar and they are super important. He says, "So smile the heavens upon this holy act, that after hours with sorrow chide us not!" Exclamation mark. Big time foreshadowing, and we'll talk about why. We've got the personification of the heavens here. So smile the heavens upon this holy act. So he imagines that the heavens are looking down at the marriage with joy, but he then juxtaposes it that after hours with sorrow chide us not. Okay, so he's basically saying, I hope, the heavens are going to be smiling down on this because this is a perfect kind of deal, and that means that we won't then get in trouble afterwards. So chide means getting in trouble. The holy act is, of course, the matrimony, but I've said there is a little bit of irony here, because I mean, the friar's being pretty naughty, marrying these two teenagers without their parents' knowledge. So even though, yes, it is a holy act, there is an underlying bit of conflict going on here. I'm sorry, obviously we've also got the personification being developed through that juxtaposition, smiling heavens chiding us at the end. But it's quite ominous in some ways, because the hope that they won't be chided by the heavens, actually it kind of hints is are they being punished? Is their end a punishment for going against the status quo? But certainly foreshadowing the troubles that are to come immediately after they get married. Romeo responds to this, "Amen, amen. But come what sorrow can, it cannot countervail the exchange of joy that one short minute gives me in her sight." So we've got a continuation of the juxtaposition, the idea of sorrow and joy. Before it was smile and chide, but it's inverted. So he's basically saying that it doesn't matter what sorrow there is to come, because one short minute of her is enough. Again, horribly, horribly poignant foreshadowing in here, in this line. Do thou but close our hands with holy words. So nice little imperative where he's basically saying to the friar, let's get on with it, let's get married. Then, love devouring death, do what he dare. Which is enough I may but call her mine. Sorry, I'm hiding behind my hands because it's just like, oh, Romeo, what are you saying? So death is personified here. This is something that happens quite a few times, particularly later on in the play. Love devouring death, so death is able to swallow up love, thereby ending it. And it's almost like he's challenging him, death as in, what he dare. So it doesn't matter if I die immediately, as long as I get this moment of calling her mine, of having her, of possessing her in marriage. So the parallels to the ending, it's just the fate reference here is just harrowing to watch and read. And then the last little bit that I want to focus on is just this wonderful, this is such a good quotation. If you're doing a closed text version of this exam, this is such a good quote to remember because it's so useful. These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die, like fire and powder, which as they kiss consume. So let's start there. So we've got this oxymoron, violent delights, which is of course referencing passion, isn't it? That's why I've got this little fiery heart. Yeah, so we've got the passion, violent delights, but passionate love has violent ends. So note the repetition. And again, a violent end, like a speedy death, meant metaphorically here. And in their triumph, die, so metaphor, like fire and powder, simile, gunpowder. Okay, so he's basically saying that just like when gunpowder and fire meet, they kiss, which as they kiss consume, so they burn each other out. So he's basically saying passionate love will die as quickly as it's made. So it's a huge warning again about haste and love. And then he gives this warning. There is, I've cut a little bit out, but and he gives this warning. Therefore, or instruction, I should say. Therefore, love moderately. So note that imperative again. He's taking on that teacher role or even fatherly role. Love moderately, calmly, yeah? Not all or nothing. Long love doth so. So moderate love lasts. Too swift arrives as tardy as too slow. So he's basically saying love that is too hasty and fast has the same outcome or is just as bad as love that is so slow that it never appears, i.e. both end with nothing. So the only thing that can be done is to love moderately, calmly, not in haste. Now, of course, there is irony here, because one could argue that he's being rather hasty, marrying them now without even having attempted to speak to the Capulets and Montagues to see if something could be done. So it's all very well him offering them this wisdom, which is fair, but perhaps he could listen to his own advice in this moment. Last thoughts for me. Themes, obviously, love, passion, yeah. Time, again, we've got this notion of time, this barreling through life, and the danger of that. Age versus youth, again, because again, we've got the older, more paternal, certainly teacherly figure offering this advice to the young lovers, and conflict and fate. I've kind of smushed those two together in this one because it's like we are being reminded of fate through the conflict in the language of the friar. He's using language that is all to do with sort of death and ending, yeah, and that is a reminder, especially because of all of the foreshadowing that Shakespeare uses here, of the end game, which is sadly their death. God, so depressing. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. Any questions, you know where to put them in the comments. I'll get back to you. Do subscribe if you haven't already, and enjoy looking through all of my other videos that will help you with English language and literature. Thank you. Happy revising.